that you? Can you?
Yes, that is me.
Okay, so you will be, if there's any questions,
Yes.
be able to help. Great. Welcome.
Thank you. But thank you very much for having me.
Sure. I know we have more people out there. Is there anybody that's watching this now that would like to have any questions for the representative from Carvana? Amanda or Fernanda, can you let me know if there is anybody?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
I don't see any hands up.
Okay. Okay, Kathy, would you like to just give us a quick little rundown of why we're going to welcome you to our town, hopefully?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to, and through you to your members. My name is Kathy Reinstein. I am the government affairs, head of government affairs for the Northeast for Carvana. I am a Massachusetts resident, so I know we are all having a wonderful day shoveling out, as you said earlier, Mr. Chairman. So I want to thank you very much for taking the time to consider our proposal. We are hoping to get a class one license in Hudson. So just so you know, Carvana, who is known, we're very large across the country, specializing everything is done online, and we do primarily used cars. We currently have five new car dealerships across the country. If the board is going to approve this, this will be the first new car venture that we will have in the Northeast. So, personally, I'm very excited to see that happen in Massachusetts. I think that it will be a great match. I don't know if you guys have any, if anyone has any specific questions for us. Um, but we are very excited to move forward if the board votes to allow this to go forward, and we look forward to working with all of you.
Sure. I just quickly, I'm always sad to see businesses leave,
Of course.
but when businesses are also going to take their place, I've heard all good things about your business, as far as I know. So I'm happy that we've got somebody filling that space, and wish you much success.
Thank
Um,
you, Mr. Chair.
yeah,
And just so you know, too, we have, we have a presence in Massachusetts. Obviously, we have a location in Framingham with Odessa in the car auction, and we have a Carvana site in Norfolk, and we, this will be another site for us in Massachusetts. Like I said, the first one in the Northeast for a new car venture, and we sold over 5,000 cars, I believe, or more, maybe 7,000 in Massachusetts last year. And we employ over about 700 people in Massachusetts. So we do have a presence. And if anyone has any other questions, I will stop talking.
any questions from the board members? No, seeing none. All right, so I will call for the vote. Judy,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. So that passes 4-0. All right. Good luck, Kathy.
Thank you all very much. Look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Next, personnel. No licenses under 4-5 personnel. Select board to note the resignation of John Parent from the Community Preservation Committee effective February 6th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And I would just like to comment,
Thank you.
I'm going to vote yes on this, obviously, because John wants to do this, but Mr. Parent, I've served on a couple of boards with him, and nobody better than John Parent. Uh, all the time he's dedicated to this town, and if you look up gentleman in the dictionary, John's picture's there. Fine man, and I hope he continues to. I know he will. He's not going anywhere, and hope he continues to stay involved. So, thank you, John. All right, by roll call, Judy,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Steve.
With regret, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And the chair votes yes. Thanks again, John. 5B, Select Board to consider confirming the appointment of Sean Quinlivan as Town Engineer for the Public Works Department at a grade M8, Step 8, effective February 24th, 2026.
So moved.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Through the chair, this is Sean Quinlivan. Just nice to meet you all. Just a brief background. Grew up, born and raised in Central Mass. Went to St. John's High School. Attended WPI. Got my bachelor's in civil engineering. Like I said, grew up locally. Went right into the municipal realm right after college. I've been a civil engineer for about 20 years now, and look forward to working with you all. Looks like a great opportunity close to home, and the facility is absolutely beautiful. So really looking forward to the new job. Thank you guys for your consideration, and stay safe out there.
Great. Tom, Rajitha, any comment?
No, so we had interviewed Sean a few weeks ago, came out as a really brilliant candidate, and we respectfully request the select board to appoint him for the town engineer position. It's been vacant since October of 25. And we're looking forward to employing his skills. He uses AutoCAD, and he's done several designs internally for in-house type of work, which we usually do with DPW, saving a lot of money for the town. So that's all the comments I have, but any questions, I'm here to answer.
Okay, any questions from the board members? Okay, so seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Judy,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Welcome, Sean, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
5C, Select Board to consider confirming the appointment of the Public Works Director effective May 26, 2026.
So moved. Seconded.
Okay. Tom, would you like to have the floor, please?
Sure. Yes, Mr. Chairman and members, it's my pleasure to introduce Daniel Nason to you this evening. As you can see from his resume, Mr. Nason has really an extensive background in public works, all disciplines of municipal public works. He interviewed very well. He's been a leader in his profession. He's well regarded by his peers. He has the education, the training, the experiences across multiple communities, which I think make him an excellent fit for the town of Hudson. He's served as a public works director in Sudbury for a period of 8 years. Before that, he was in Northborough, and then has served before in the town of Air in a senior engineering position in Holden. I think he'll fit in very well with the town. As I said earlier, he interviewed very well. His references spoke very highly of his experiences. He's a real leader, and I think he'll bring that leadership here to the town. He currently serves as the town administrator in Harvard, and he has a 90-day notice requirement to provide to his board, which he intends to honor if the appointment is confirmed this evening, which would make the effective date May 26th. I'm thrilled to offer this candidate to the board this evening. I think he'll, as I said, he'll make a great difference in Hudson. Will be a great fit for within the department head group, as well as a leader among the employees in this department.
All right, thank you, Tom. I'd like to, Tom, I'd like to compliment you and the staff on choosing Mr. Nason. I mean, from his resume, reading his resume, I did reach out to somebody who knows him. Very impressed. I'm also impressed that I mean, pretty much contiguous. I mean, Sudbury is, Northborough almost is, but you spent some time in both of those towns, especially Sudbury. A lot of similar things going on over there that we have in Hudson, and Northborough's a similar size also, but obviously you know the area, and your resume is very impressive. So
Thank you, Mr.
and
Chair.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
I'm
And thank
pretty
you, Town Manager Gregory. Thank you.
yeah. So I'm excited to see, and also it's you know, a good thing, obviously, that you're honoring whatever that is in your contract. That's up to the town to decide what they want to do um, after that. But I appreciate that also. So,
Thank you.
any questions or comments from the board members? Judy?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to thank Rajitha for stepping into the role after Eric's resignation. She's an asset to the town of Hudson. And I think she's been doing a wonderful job with this exceptional winter we've been having. We haven't had a winter like this in a few years anyway. So you're doing a great job, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm part of an amazing team. I couldn't do this by myself.
I'd also like, yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I do intend to support Mr. Nason's appointment. His resume is outstanding, and I think he's going to fit in well.
Thank
I
you.
do have a question, though, and I knew this appointment was coming at some point, but I noticed that on the agenda, there was no name attached. So the public didn't have a chance like we did to see the resume or know the name. And Mr. Gregory, I think you referred to that, the reason for that, but can you explain it again?
I can, certainly, through you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Nason asked that the board preserve his application to the position as a confidential application, given his current tenure as town administrator in Harvard. He wanted to be certain that the board would be confirming the appointment before he gives notice to his current employer, which is why it didn't appear on the agenda. And assuming the appointment will be confirmed, which I hope it will be, we will post online tomorrow morning Mr. Nason's cover letter and resume for the public to see.
Thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I know
Yes.
that was a question, Steve. Thanks for asking that question. I saw a couple residents were asking that also. So and that was question that was asked of me by a couple of people is to, you know, opening this up and everything. But this is one of the things obviously in a lot of municipal positions, people already have a job somewhere else, as in private sector sometimes. And obviously municipal positions are very public, unlike the private sector. And sometimes people don't want their name out there because they're an employee. So that was one of the reasons. So anyways, Diane, any?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll call for the vote. Judy? Was that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Diane?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. All right. Congratulations, Dan. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Gregory and members of the board, I appreciate it. Appreciate the support and the confidentiality. I will be giving my notice tomorrow morning. So thank you. And
Thank
similarly to the new town engineer, congratulations. But I also, it sounded very similar, being a WPI grad myself as well, and born and brought up in Central Mass too. So he kind of stole all my thunder. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I will echo what Judy said also, that we are so lucky to have Rajitha in this position right now. So I know when you come on, that's going to be a seamless transition.
Thank you.
You'd be very impressed. I'm sure you probably already are. But Rajitha, thank you again very much.
Thank you, and welcome, Dan.
Thank you so much. I look forward to meeting you in person, and I'll stop down sometime soon.
Same here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next, contracts. Select board to consider entering into a contract with Woodard and Curran for SCADA services support in the amount of $9,800 and to authorize the town manager to sign on behalf of the select board. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. And Tom, could you, either you or Rajitha, could
Sure.
would like to just explain?
Yeah, sure. SCADA services, it's used across both wastewater and water treatment systems. This one is specifically for the water treatment system, and it has alarm capability. And just like any other software nowadays, we don't get a one-time license and then it's stuck to the machine. It's usually a subscription service. And this is a subscription service. It's an annual contract. We're working with Woodard and Curran for many years, and this is a renewal of an existing annual contract. There are 3 licenses, 2 of them, one is for the firewall and the other for the software itself. And so we are hoping to get these renewed so that we can continue the services seamlessly.
Okay. Any questions from the other board members? Diane?
Just one, well, I guess it's really a comment. We have worked with Woodard and Curran a number of times and for a number of projects. And I'm assuming that and you can answer this, Rashida, we are happy with their work in the past.
Yes, thank you, Diane.
Yep. Okay.
All right. All those in favor? Judy?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. That passes 4-0.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Next, 7, general. Select board to consider accepting a donation in the amount of $10,000 from the Robert Lloyd Corkin Charitable Foundation / Entwistle Company for the Hudson Veterans Department Vet Rides Program.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. And I would like to comment that this partnership's been going on for a few years now, and it is just it's amazing that every year we get a large sum of money from this foundation. It's a company in Hudson. They do a lot of government work also, but they have this charitable foundation. Every year they get together and vote, and they distribute a lot of money. I don't know how much it is, but I think we're lucky to be in there, and I'm sure Brian Stearns would tell anybody how lucky we are to have them donating to us. So thank you again to them. And all those in favor, Diane?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you. 7B, select board to consider authorizing the placement of a debt exclusion question on the ballot for May 11th, 2026 annual town election.
So moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay. Questions or comments? Tom?
Sure.
Sure.
I can give a brief overview just for the procedural overview here. The debt exclusion, as I think all the members on the board who are attending tonight were part of the were on the board when the debt exclusion passed for the DPW facility. So it's the same, if I'm remembering correctly. So if it's the same procedure, it's a 2-hurdle process where town meeting will be required to issue an authorization, a debt authorization, a borrowing authorization by 2/3 vote. And then that would be on May 4th. And then the following Monday at the annual town election, the residents would be asked to vote on whether to exempt the debt service required to pay the borrowing from the provisions of Proposition 2.5. And so what does that mean? That means that for the term of the borrowing, let's say it's 15 years, the principal and interest payment would have its own revenue source by an additional raising of taxation. And so I think at the previous meeting, I explained that I'd be able to give an analysis or a brief kind of analysis of what the tax impact would be. So I have that for the board tonight. So if this passes, $7,255,000 passes both the town meeting and at the ballot. If it's a 15-year borrowing at 4.5% with level principal, the first year's principal and interest, if we issue permanent debt, would be $810,142. And so in fiscal $26, that would mean annual tax impact on the average single-family property, residential property in Hudson at $97.59 or $24.40 per quarter. And the average single-family assessed value right now for fiscal 26 is just over 600,000. So of course, if you have a property that's valued or assessed higher than that, the tax impact would be higher. And if you have a property assessed at less than that value, it would be less than the $97.59. So, and this is to fund roof and HVAC needed repairs to the high school and the Farley elementary school.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, at the last meeting, the school department came before us to explain the need. They had a good, they've done quite a bit of research on what needs to be done. It's unfortunate that we have to spend that, but by all means, what they did and what they intend to do is going to save a lot of money moving forward. And also just to remind, I know you don't have this, Tom, but always on our debt exclusions, we have other ones out there that will go away eventually as we move on. So
that's right. The high school debt exclusion, the 20-year debt exclusion, I believe, I just don't have it in front of me, and I apologize for that. That expired, I think, this year. The senior center debt exclusion is within 4 or 5 years, approximately, of being retired. So why is that important? It leaves room. It creates some capacity, borrowing capacity, and moderates the impact of any new borrowing when you have existing debt come off the schedule. So.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. Any questions, Judy?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Gregory, if you could just explain a little bit about, obviously the roofs have been failing for some time now. It's, having to replace your roof is not something new. I'm certain that there's people out there that are questioning, didn't you know this when the override happened? And what is the benefit of doing a debt exclusion versus putting that amount on the Prop 2.5?
Sure. And I think what I'll do is I'll defer to Dr. Reagan and Mr. Gale, who can answer questions, I think, a little bit later on about the particular need for the repairs. But as far as why the debt exclusion route is being proposed, the first thing I'd say is the scale, right? The scale of this project. It's over $7 million. There isn't enough free cash to dedicate to this project in its entirety and still have enough to allocate to the other municipal departments. So the scale is one thing that puts it into this category. The other thing I'd say is I will say that the school department is working with a roofing contractor to help them with this analysis. And I would believe that they would be assisting the school department in the procurement of a contractor to do this work. And it's likely that a lot of this work can be procured in 1 or 2 phases, which would shorten the time to get it done versus incrementally approaching these projects, which would just take longer to conclude. So that's sort of my perspective on why I think a debt exclusion is a really a good opportunity for the town to address these projects.
I think I was looking at it more because a debt exclusion eventually drops off, where a proposition half amount does not drop off.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. So that's the very clear distinction. That's correct. So
I just want to. I'm these questions were asked of me, so I'm making it public because I know that it's not.
Yeah.
A few people asking. That's
yeah. It's easy to confuse the two because they're often used interchangeably, but they're distinctly different, as you said, Judy. An operational proposition override is permanent. It's a permanent increase in the levy. A debt exclusion is a temporary raising of the levy to pay for the annual debt service until the borrowing is concluded, and then it comes off the schedule. So it's an important point. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the board members? Mr. Yates?
I just wanted to pipe in on that, and just from the school committee's perspective, in that these roofs have been a problem for some time. The high school, the Farley School roof is nearing the end of its life, and the high school roof is as well. And these sorts of capital projects are not something that we can absorb through our budget. And I think the debt exclusion route is the correct way to go, and spreading it out over the 15-year bond period, resulting in $97 per year is a better route to go, because that does eventually come off, as you said. And we have the senior center and Quinn Middle School that will be coming off during the time that this one goes on. And I'm sure there'll be another building in town somewhere that will need some sort of major repair. So we're just happy to get it done this way, and get a large repair done in the most economical way, which I think we're accomplishing.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to call for the vote on this by roll call. Diane?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. That passes 4-0. All right. Next on the agenda, budget hearings. Fiscal year 27 budget. Assabet Valley Regional Vocational School, $3,695,924. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, before you even begin, I just wanted to state that I am Executive Director of the Massachusetts Association of Vocational Administrators, better known as MAVA. Assabet is one of our member schools, so I am not going to participate at all in this discussion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sharp. All right, Diane, did you make a motion?
So moved.
I
Judy?
did, but that's okay.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry. I didn't. I wasn't looking. I was. All right, Judy.
It doesn't matter to
motion?
me.
Judy made the
Diane,
motion,
second
I'll
that?
second.
All right. All right, Ernie, I saw you earlier, so you got the floor.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the fellow select board members as well. It's always a pleasure. And I just want to make sure you folks can hear me okay, right?
Yep.
Excellent. With me this evening, I have Jean Savoy, our Interim Director of Business Operations. I also have David Greenwood, our Hudson School Committee representative, who's been with us for about a year now, exactly when you folks had appointed him onto the board, and he's been an excellent contributor. He's part of the Finance Committee subcommittee that helped develop this budget, so he's worked very closely with this budget. Part of our presentation, I think they were going to put it on the screen for us. That way I'm just not talking to something. But as I wait for that presentation to come up, I want to just thank the residents of Hudson for their continued support of Assabet. Obviously, we are your extension of your public school system when the region was formed back in the 1966 time period. And we offer the technical, career and technical programs, Chapter 74 programs, for those students that are seeking to acquire that type of education. Next slide, please. Oh, you don't have the slide that I have. Okay, so I'm going to just read off a couple of slides real quick. We had shared a recent one that had some fast facts. Obviously, Assabet, if you can hang on that slide for just a second, and I'll run through the slides I have. Obviously, we're a public high school, 9 through 12. We had 1,131 students as of October 1st, 2025. 187 of them.
Ernie, excuse me. Just so you know, we do have the fast facts one. It's just further down. It's like a couple pages down.
Oh, okay.
The one that we're looking at right now was actually the next one. So there we go.
No, it looks like that one's a different presentation.
That's the one I have.
That's all right. I'll just run through a couple. So obviously we have a robust community ed program as well. Post-secondary programs with LPN and cosmetology. Those folks make up some of our enrollment as well. For Hudson, specifically student profile, you have 186 secondary students, grades 9 through 12, and you have one post-secondary student that's attending. The top program that your students have chosen is electrical wiring, which has 21 students enrolled. That's first place shop. Health technologies is the second, with 18 students attending, and metal fabrication would be your third, with 17 students. And you had 39 graduates from the class of 2025. And then lastly, on my slides, community partnership. ASABIT tries to utilize the student skill sets of what they're learning at school and have that go out and do some community outreach. Our computer programming and web students go out and they work with the senior centers in Hudson, Marlborough, and Maynard. So those folks that need some help with technology, iPads, new phones, our students from computer programming and web will go and help them learn how to operate those pieces of technology, or if they're having any issues. Our culinary students usually host the Hudson Senior Center for a variety of holiday events. I believe they're going to join us for St. Patty's Day next month, as long as the weather cooperates and doesn't cause any issues like today. And then lastly, the Hudson Food Pantry. Most recently, biotech students volunteered to help unload the truck and stock the pantry, but we've had our technical programs all take part, as well as the principal and some other administrators. So on this slide, this is just the topics that are in our presentation this year. You can go to the next slide. The superintendent's welcome. I'm not going to read that all to you, but in a nutshell, it's basically reflects an 8.6% increase on our budget, and that's based on the 45 additional in-district students that are attending ASABIT based on the October 1 number from 2025. This additional students, and that 8.6 is a direct reflection of state revenue or aid that's given to ASABIT. We are at 100% net school spending, so there's no opportunity to cut our budget to be less than that. We're right at the bare minimum. And this continues the trend, as I've mentioned over a number of years, that as we have greater interest in our in-district communities, our out-of-district students have fallen off. There's only 24 out-of-district or non-resident students left in ASABIT. And if you recall, at one point, a third of our population was out-of-district students, which helped to offset the member assessments because you folks were only responsible for the number of students coming from your 7-member communities. And now what's happened is, 99% of the assessments or 100% are handled by our in-district communities. So the cost of living adjustments and contractual obligations equate to an increase of $2,645,251 over FY26. This is the second year of a multi-year transportation contract with a budget increase of 2.8% overall. And there was a requirement of 4 additional bus routes to handle that student demand. You'll see that when we get to the slide, we actually had a reduction from state aid for tuition reimbursement by about $30,000. So what happens is the remainder of what state aid and the total contract gets distributed by our 7-member communities. At this time, our health care costs are unknown. We're waiting for those an offer to come in or a new rate, but we've seen and we've heard that rates are coming in at a 12% or higher. We have favorable claims data, so we're hoping that the number comes in favorable as well. Just for information purposes, anyone hired at ASABIT prior to July 1st, 2019, it's a 75-25 split, 75 by the district, 25 by our employees, and then anyone hired after that date, it's a 70-30 split. And then we are still in negotiations with our 2 collective bargaining units of the AFT, American Federation of Teachers, so those costs associated with those bargaining units are still unknown. In this budget, we have $100,000 towards OPEB, other post-employment benefits. Our capital stabilization is at $300,000 this year. We've gone and increased it by $50,000 due to some Mason-related issues that we need to address with the concrete awnings on the building. And again, this is another year in which we are not utilizing any out-of-district tuition because it's not a fiscally stable option to utilize. Next slide, please. So quick fast facts. The increased enrollment is a 4.2% increase. Our Chapter 70 funding increased by $575,766. The minimum local contribution, which is what our community members are assessed based on the aggregate wealth model, increased by $1,960,952. And so there's a total realized increase from state aid of $2,536,718. Any of the hyperlinks that you see there that are underlined, those are live links that you can go on and take a look at all that information if you were to so choose to do so. Next slide, please. Budget drivers. We have some budget drivers here. We have increased multi-language learners. We're trying to identify curricular and achievement gaps based on those growing populations of MLLs as well as students with disabilities, and ensuring equitable access and maximizing student outcomes. As I mentioned probably in the past, ASAVET doesn't have the ability to have any input into a child's education prior to coming to ASAVET, so we inherit the students as they enter the door. And we have found that in some cases we have students, and this is a generic statement, this isn't from any particular community, that we do have students that are reading below grade level standards. And if you can imagine, our students are learning and preparing to enter directly into the world of work, and are reading textbooks that are based on industry recognized levels and credentials, which are a grade 14. We've had students that have entered at a grade 3, grade 2 reading level, believe it or not. So we've had to have specialists, reading specialists, work with those students to get them up to par to be able to graduate when they become a senior. And this is all, as I remind you, that they have half the amount of academic, because they're on a week about system, 90 days of academics and 90 days of their technical training. Next slide, please. Our budget overview, the operating budget, $31,603,100, does not include the long-term debt, which was from the renovation project from 2016. I have another slide that will talk about that more in depth. The overall increase is $2,645,251. That's that 8.6 that I mentioned with the 45 additional in-district students. If you were to go back to the slide, you don't have to go back to the slide, but if you remember the slide from the state aid, it was about $2.5 million. ASAVET, with the above minimum assessment, only assessed an additional $108,000 above what the state was requiring ASAVET to receive in state aid. We assessed $108,000 above that. The long-term debt renovation project, it's the 11th debt service payment. It gets paid out in July and January, and it's $1.1 million is the principal, and $558,875 is the interest payment, and that's a reduction or a decrease from FY26 of $44,000, which gets shared amongst our 7-member communities. So the total FY27 budget is $33,261,975. Next slide, please. And if folks have questions, please feel free to just stop me. On this slide, this is our enrollment changes. You'll see, looking at the blue shadowed area, second one down, Hudson on the far left. If you carry that over, it's by grade level. You'll see that the total number is 670. Hudson, 187 is the total for this year's budget. It was 195 for FY26, is a reduction of 8 students, and that's what your assessment and your enrollment is based on in the operating ratio. Next slide. ASAVET's statutory method of assessment is what's called for in the regional agreement. That's how we assess our member communities, and it basically talks about the requirement of local contribution members based on net school spending and the shares of cost of transportation, capital, project debt service, and other capital costs. Next slide. Minimum local contribution. This is what the state makes a determination based on each of our 7-member communities. And this is also known as the aggregate wealth model. It's based on 50% property wealth and 50% local income wealth. And basically what the Department of Ed is looking to do is they set the max local contribution at 82.5% of foundation, which means that they would be providing 17.5% of state aid, even for the wealthiest of communities. And depending upon where communities are, if they're not at the 82%, the state will kick in the difference if they're unable to be at that level. But again, that is a formula that the state provides based on the enrollment and then based on the aggregate wealth model of your community. Next slide. This is just another talking about when minimum local contribution comes out, 3rd week of January by the governor's budget. That hyperlink is active. Next slide. This is the minimum local contribution for Assabet. If you look in the top far left, it says Chapter 70 Summary, 801 Assabet Valley. That's us as the LEA. In the rectangle box that's highlighted, that's FY27. You'll see at the very top, there's the enrollment of 1128 on the high school population. 45, the next over where it says change, 45 additional students. And then you'll see the Chapter 78 that we're going to get there, that $11,659,434. You'll see that in a revenue slide that I'll be showing you shortly, and that's based on our total enrollment. And then the required district contribution is your minimum local contribution of that $16,843,334. So you'll see the change. That's that $1,960,952 number that I shared with you earlier. And at the very bottom of that, you'll see there's the required net school spending of 100%. So we're right at bare minimum of where we should be. Next slide. This is just a slide showing net school spending requirements for all of our 7-member communities. They just updated it in July of 2025. Assabet is in the bottom. You'll see in the darker shaded blue area. You'll see in FY24 we didn't meet net school spending. We were off by a 0.1%. We were at 99.9. So what they required us to do in FY25 was to spend 102.3%, and we actually spent 102.4. So that's what happens if we're below net school spending. Any school district, if you're below net school spending, they require you to make that up in the next school year. They might allow you to do it in the, if it happens, if you didn't get it in the very successor school year, they may allow it in the second, but there could be penalties that get posed to the school district if you're not meeting net school spending. Next slide. This is the minimum local contribution of our regional district members tab. So you can see each of the communities there based on the enrollment. In the first rectangle box to the left, looking at the screen, there's the FY27, 1128 is our total enrollment. And then based on the communities listed, you'll see Hudson, there's the 187. If you look to the second rectangle box to the right, you'll see that their required minimum local contribution, even though you had a reduction of 8 students, they still required that your minimum local contribution went up $163,225 for a total of $3,102,618. Okay, next slide. So this is our slide that we call basically our money slide. That's how the total assessment is pulled together. You'll see in the very top in the blue, second one over from the left, it says Hudson. There's the $3,102,618 from the minimum local contribution that I just mentioned. In the yellow shaded box, you'll see the net busing. If you look far right to the total, the $1,137,551, that's the remainder of a total transportation cost of $2,025,273 minus a state aid that we're getting for tuition transportation reimbursement of $887,722. So that remaining balance of $1,137,551 that you see on the screen is what's cost shared between our 7-member communities. If you look at the very bottom of the, I'll say the salmon color, you'll see that Hudson's operational share is 16.6%. So 16.6% of that 1.1 million for net busing is $188,583. Next line down is the OPEB trust. Go right. Yeah, I'm still on this. Next line down is the $100,000 for the OPEB trust. Hudson's share of that is $16,578. Then we have the capital improvement fund, $300,000. Hudson's share of that is the $49,734. If you recall, 3 years ago, we put forth a capital stabilization fund in order to address any potential issues as to avoid coming back to our communities for something that was unplanned for. We were trying to be proactive in nature, and I have a slide that will show where that currently stands. And then the long-term debt is the renovation project, just to clarify from the capital piece, $338,411, and then there's the FY27 assessment total, $3,695,924 for Hudson. And then the total number of students down below, 186 in the high school, and one, it's either a practical nursing student or a cosmetology student that's attending. Next slide. So capital stabilization, when we came before the communities and talked about implementing this, we said that we would report back as to how the funds were utilized. And just as a reminder, the school committee are the only ones that can actually make a recommendation and take a vote as to how the funds are going to be used. A recommendation usually comes from administration and the school committee based on the need. To date, we have not used any of the funds. We're hoping to build that up a little bit, but we do need new roadways and parking lots. We've got other issues that weren't taken care of in the renovation project. The renovation project was building envelope weatherization, energy efficiency, sprinkler systems, things of that nature. But we have 53-year-old floors that are popping up that are going to need to be addressed at some point as well as some exterior. So you'll see in 2025 when it was started, $250,000 was approved, $250,000 in 26, and then we have the $300,000 that we're allocating or proposing in this budget. So the total of $500,000 so far collected or will be collected in the first 2 years, and then the interest accrued for those first 2 years is the total of $580,842.99. Okay, any questions? Next slide, please. Long-term debt assessment. This is the renovation project I mentioned. I've already actually gone through all of this, so that's just there for your reference. Next slide. This is the long-term debt assessment by community. This stays for the life of the long-term debt, and your average of a 20.40% at the time was the three-year average when the project was approved. That'll remain for the life of the long-term debt assessment, and it's by those communities as you see on the screen. And you'll see there was an $8,976 reduction from FY26. Next slide. This is the long-term debt schedule that you'll see we're in the 11th payment, and these payments go through 2041. Next slide. Here's our operational revenue plan. It's just another way to look at the numbers that we've shared already. That $11,659,434 is the state aid that I mentioned in the, if you remember that Chapter 70 summary for Assabet, that was that number. The second in the blue box under minimum local contributions under Hudson, there's the $3,102,618, that $163,225 increase over FY26. Assabet is allocating $400,000 from excess and deficiency and $200,000 from interest income. We've increased that $50,000. And then Medicaid reimbursement really is a number that stays the same each year. It's $75,000, and that's based on student needs that require medical type services that may be reimbursable at Assabet and may not. It all depends on the population of students. The other thing I'll state that when it comes to addressing students requiring additional special services or special needs, there is no additional assessment given to any of our member communities. We also are not able to access any circuit breaker money for special education services. So I just wanted to make that clear that that gets handled through usually grants. We're very very effective at and proactive at looking for grants to help offset any additional costs that we give to our member communities. Then you'll see the regional school transportation number, 887,722. As I mentioned, a reduction of 29,561. And then the above minimum assessment, you'll see Hudson's number down there, 593,306. That's the additional, that's the OPEB, that's capital stabilization, okay? And then again, at the very bottom, you'll see the total budget of $33,261,975. Next slide. On this slide, you'll see our expenditures by function code. You'll see the largest. First, I'll say pupil transportation. There's the number for our transportation contract in its second year, $2,225,273. We also have the long-term debt in the 8,000 column down at the bottom, that 1,658,875. And then the largest piece of this is in instruction. You'll see the increase went to 18,206,163. That includes any cost of living adjustments or raises for all of our instructional staff, our paras, support staff that have to do with instruction, has to deal with potential equipment, supplies, as you know, the cost of consumables for technical programs, wood, copper, metal, have all increased over the last couple of years with inflation. And then, of course, equipment. It's usually maintaining of equipment. Again, we do a good job about seeking out grants through the state or through private organizations or foundations to help us with purchasing of grants. We have recently gotten grants from Mass Life Sciences, Mass Clean Energy, and through the Workforce Skills Grant that has provided us to have the up-to-date, most state-of-the-art equipment for our students and your students attending from Hudson. And next slide, I think, is our last slide. And that's just our timeline. You folks were usually the first group we've seen in budget years. However, I've already been on the road a couple times. Even we started in December last year. This year, we got a little bit earlier start, but generally Hudson has us as the first potential group. So, any questions on our FY27 budget?
Any questions from the board members?
None, thank you.
Okay. All right. So motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor of the amount of $3,695,924. Diane?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
And I abstain.
Mrs. Sharrock has abstained, so that passes 3-0-1. All right, Ernie, thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. And if any of you folks want to come for a tour or have any other further questions, please feel free to reach out.
Great, thank you.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Too. Thank you. All right, next, Hudson Public Schools. Amount requested $50,405,344. Is there a motion?
So move.
Steve? Second?
Second.
Judy?
Second.
All right. Who's leading the show tonight? Brian or Dan?
Brian.
I think it's going to be me, yes, but I think I
Brian.
just did something. I hit share, and I think it's not showing what I need to show. Should I have the ability to share, you think?
I believe you can request a share and we can authorize it.
Okay.
That's right.
We don't use Zoom too much in the district, so I'm seeing a screen that's saying share, and then when I hit it, open systems, it's saying open system settings.
If you hover over the bottom of your Zoom screen, a bar will come up and there's a green button that says share.
Yeah, I see that. I'm hitting that, but it's not. Sorry.
It will give you the option of what screen. If you're looking at multiple screens, it will ask you which screen you're trying to share.
Yeah.
And then hit share at the bottom.
You try it now. I'm allowing you to share.
Can't believe. Of course, this is going to work for me here.
I can also do the same thing like I did with Assabet, and you can tell me when to move slides.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, man. Yeah, it's just not letting me do it. It's probably on my end, I'm sure.
All right, Brian.
All right. Well, thank you for having us here tonight, and thank you, Amanda, for helping with the visual here. I'm joined by Chris Yates, and there are a couple other school committee members I see on the call as well. Tara Sagar, I see Chris Monsini was on. I think maybe Erica was here as well. So if I missed somebody, sorry about that. And Dan Gale will be joining us as well. So just talk to you briefly, and you can scroll up a minute to the next slide, about the Hudson Public Schools budget for this coming fiscal year. As always, we plan all of our work around our values and strategic objectives. And we did some work last spring and into the summer about making an adjustment to some existing values and objectives that have been in place for many years. So now we have three basic buckets that we're working in, one around creating opportunities to engage with students and families, another around high expectations for growth and achievement, and another around uplifting and celebrating everyone in our school community. And so underneath each of these in the document, you'll see that we have some objectives that we've aligned our work to this year, and we'll carry these forward into a multi-year approach. Next slide, please. Just some of the major initiatives that we're really proud of and wanted to just highlight. The Hudson Public Schools did receive a grant that was well over $200,000 to help us pay for a new literacy program in grades kindergarten through 5. We're in the process now of rolling that out in year 1. It's strongly aligned with state curriculum, as well as some of you may have heard the word the science of reading, which is research based way of teaching kids to read and write. And our previous curriculum was not even close to being aligned. In this new program, we're already seeing leaps and bounds among students in our elementary classrooms. So this is a real great success story. Again, want to thank the team that worked on securing the grant to allow this to happen. Also, Hudson High School is well on its way for receiving early college designation through the state. We have a partnership with Worcester State University, and once we are fully considered a early college high school, students could then graduate from Hudson High, having earned a minimum of 12 college credits that they can take with them after graduating into post-secondary learning beyond earning their Hudson High diploma. So Part A of the designation has been completed. We earned a $25,000 planning grant from the state after completing Part A, which now will allow us to work with a consultant to complete Part B, which is the second and final part of the early college designation process. And we will continue our expansion of the Portuguese English dual language program up until grade 5 next year. It's currently fully rolled out at the Farley School in grades K to 4, with 2 sections of students in the dual language program at each grade level. Those students will roll up into grade 5 next year. And this has always been the plan to expand this up through high school over the next several years. So we're excited to see dual language move to Quinn starting next year. Next slide, please. And just a few things as we're looking ahead. We are, as one of my goals this year, is to consider the potential development of an in-district technical program or vocational program at Hudson High School, whether that be a fully formed Chapter 74 program or a state-approved pathway program. We're not sure, but we're in the sort of exploration stage right now, just to give kids as many options as we can when they're students at Hudson High School. So this is something we're exploring. We look to continue to increase the number of students graduating from Hudson High with the Massachusetts Seal of Biliteracy. This is a state recognition, and Hudson High was one of the top 5 schools in the Commonwealth last year in terms of the percentage of the graduating class earning the Seal of Biliteracy upon graduation. We are, thanks to funding provided through town meeting, in the process of going through a space needs study. Through the override process, we talked a lot about needing to find efficiencies in the physical structures that we use to teach our students, and looking at whether or not we're using the square footage that is available to us in the most efficient way. So we are working with an architect now that we have secured a contract through, and we hope the plan is to have a completed space needs study by May that will have multiple options for the school committee to consider, that obviously we'll share with the public as well. And then the last piece is we're continuing to work on programs throughout different levels around community outreach to encourage families to choose the Hudson Public Schools. So trying to increase our public relations so that people can make an educated choice when they're deciding whether they want to enroll in the Hudson Public Schools or remain in the Hudson Public Schools. So we have a lot of great success stories to share, and we're just looking to expand the way that we do that within our own community. Next slide, please. And I always like to just share information on our enrollment. You do know from our conversations last year, the Hudson Public Schools has been seeing a decline in enrollment over the past 10 years. Currently in 25-26, this was the October 1 number, our enrollment at 2275. That will be a little different if you looked at it today, but these numbers here all come from the state, and they're all measured in October 1 of that school year. And if you scroll to the next slide, this was a big conversation. This has not changed, though, as our enrollment goes down. The complexity of our learners is increasing. So you can see on the right the trend line for students in Hudson that would be considered high needs. Those would be English learners, students receiving special education services, and students who would be considered economically disadvantaged. So you can see the population of our students is becoming more complex, their needs becoming more complex, even though the enrollment is going down. And then next slide, please. Part of our space needs study is a more in-depth enrollment study as well. So we're working with NESDEC, the New England School Development Council. They do an enrollment projection for us every year, but it's very basic. What they're working for on us this year to help go with the space needs study is something a little more in-depth, where they're looking at housing trends in the community. They've got some information from Christine Johnson over at Town Hall about different housing projects that are in the works. So we're excited about this enrollment document that we'll receive alongside of the space needs study, because it will give us some really important information. And in the preliminary information they gave us already, you can see that they're projecting in the next 10 years to see the trend move upward slightly. So by 2035, 2036, that's 10 years from now, roughly, we'll see an increase they're projecting of 70 students at the K4 level, or elementary schools, an increase of 64 students at the middle school, and a very nominal increase at the high school of 9 students. Also seeing an increase the elementary and middle in the next 3 years, but smaller numbers there. So we'll keep our eyes on enrollment. It's certainly not bringing us back up to the level we were at, say, 10 years ago, but it does bring us back to the level that we were around 5 or 6 years ago, right before the pandemic. Next slide, please. All right, and with that, we'll get into information here around the numbers, and we'll do this in three categories, personnel being one. As you know, having sat through these presentations in the past, the vast majority of a school department's budget comes from personnel. And so what we are looking at from fiscal year 26 to 27 is a increase of just over $1.2 million around steps and lanes. These are contractual agreements, cost of living adjustments for our non-contractual employees, which typically are in the 2 to 2.5% range. Already market adjustments, which is, for an example, if I have a principal that retires, that principal is typically working at a, say, below market rate. And so as we're looking to replace that principal, you may end up paying a new principal slightly more than the one that was retiring. So that's not uncommon, but that's what's meant by market adjustments. And then position changes, which would be more on sort of the teacher side, where we might have somebody, and this works in our favor, you might have somebody retire at the top step and you hire somebody that's sort of middle of the salary range. So you end up saving some money there. So the net from all of that, we project at a 1.2%, a $1.2 million increase. I do want to point out that we had enrollment needed adjustments that and staffing that needed to be made after the FY26 budget was finalized. And that was in the form of 6 ABAs, which are sort of specially trained paraprofessionals that work with students to collect data. These are working with students with special needs. A lot of our ABAs work at the Child Development Program in Mulready, which is where our students on the autism spectrum are. And that program is really bursting this year, in the high 30s in terms of enrollment. And we had more students enrolled there than we projected. And those students needed the support of ABAs. So we had to hire those folks in the summer after the budget was finalized. And also, when we projected kindergarten enrollment, we were doing it based on what we knew at the time. And then over the summer, we ended up needing to add a kindergarten section at Forest Avenue because the numbers just continued to grow there. So the 6 ABAs, and I should say 5 of them are already, I believe 1 is at the high school. They're all because of specific student needs that we couldn't project. And then the kindergarten enrollment was due to additional kindergarten students that we were not projecting. And that's a total of $310,000. We are expecting to be able to reduce 1 paraprofessional position based on student need next year. And then we have 1 teacher who is currently 0.6% in the operating budget and 0.4% through the HUD-TV budget. The plan over the past few years has been to shift that teacher's funding source to a 0.8 out of the operating budget and 0.2 out of HUD-TV. So this is the final year in FY27 of that adjustment, and that's roughly a $20,000 shift from HUD-TV to the general operating budget. So that's not an additional FTE, but it's just moving how we're paying that individual teacher. So that's an overall increase of 4.01% in the personnel budget. Next slide, please. The next category is general expense. So this is where we have our tuitions for our out-of-district students. You may recall around the override discussion last year, this was a category that was an atypically large increase. This year, we're not experiencing that, thankfully. This is a rather typical increase for out-of-district tuitions. These are tuitions that are set by the state in most cases, and these are students who we are unable to educate in the Hudson Public Schools based on their some academic needs. Some cases it's a physical need, whatever disability it is that they have that they are working with and living with, that we're unable to service them in district. We have a relatively low number of students that are out of district, but there are some inevitably that we are unable to support in district. So that's an increase in tuitions there of about just over $172,000. The next category is relatively minor, but these are increases to software and hardware costs. We use a variety of different databases and other pieces of software, and just general expenses around our computer refurbishment, which happens every year to a certain percentage of our computer hardware, and then overall supply budgets. So that 247 is mostly around software and hardware. We really aren't seeing any increases to supply budgets unless it's something that is, say, a dues or a membership piece that we don't control the cost of that. We've asked our department heads and principals to consider their supply budgets and professional development budgets, for example, to be level funded, and only have increases when we have no other option. And then contracted services is the last category with just over $120,000. So for this general expense, it's an increase of just over $543,000 of 5.92%. Next slide, please. And then lastly is transportation. And again, you'll recall that when we entered into a new contract a couple of years ago, we experienced a 51% increase in transportation. That was extremely unusual and one of the drivers behind why we needed that operational override in that 1 year. This is a more typical increase. The contract that we agreed to with First Student had about a 6% increase in years 2 and 3 of the contract. We do have an option for years 4 and 5, but we will likely be going out to bid as we approach the end of the first 3 years just to see if we might be able to get a more favorable bid on transportation. If not, we do have the option for years 4 and 5. But we split this out for you for in-district transportation. Those are our large yellow school buses that we work with First Student on. And then we have, I think, about 7 minibuses that they service our kids that are in Hudson. That's an increase of $170,000, and then a smaller increase of $50,000 or just over for out-of-district transportation. So these are students that are going to those out-of-district programs. Some of these students we pay for a sort of ride share. If there are other districts in the area that have students going to the same school, we can share a van. So we look for efficiencies whenever we can with that. And we do that typically through the Assabet Valley Collaborative, which is a special education collaborative that Hudson belongs to. So because of that, if there's a student going to the Perkins School from Hudson and a student going to the Perkins School from, say, Stowe, we may be able to put both of those students on the same van, and then we split the cost with Neshoba, for example. So our overall increase for transportation is about 6.3% year over year, an increase of just over $221,000. And next slide, please. So in summary, just to sort of pull it together for you here in one slide, I think, Dan, are you on?
Yeah, I can take this slide.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so thanks, Brian. And as Brian is talking about all the expenses, we're still just crunching the numbers the next couple of weeks just to check out trends and see if also just analyze if we can reduce anywhere else. But for our revenue side, we have an estimated town appropriation of 49,903,871, and this is on track with the plan from the override, which is a normal 2.5% increase on last year's budget plus an additional 500,000 from the override. So you'll see that second line shows override funding in FY27 of 500,000, and then so that's a total appropriation of 50,403,871, and then we are going to use some additional circuit breaker and school choice, so estimating 1.9 million out of circuit breaker and 1.18 million out of school choice. So that would be a total budget of 53,492,000 using all those funds, which is an overall increase of 2.3 million or 4.51%. And I was just going to mention, in terms of the override plan, in FY 28 and 29, we're assuming, as we had presented and talked about last year during the override, there should be another $750,000 of the override money left for an additional $500,000 in FY28, and then an additional $250,000 in FY29. So that would come out of excess levy. So when the tax rate's certified in the fall, we would expect to see $750,000 left in the tax levy to meet the plan from the override. We can take any questions you have on any of the slides.
So I don't know, Dan, I guess this is between you and Tom. You're there, correct?
Yes, I'm here. Yep.
Well, I don't know why, but what's the difference in the number that's on our sheet and the number that I see here?
So I asked, I think we're just off by a little bit here. I asked Brian what I should use, what the expectation was from the school department about the percentage increase. So I multiplied, and the answer was 3.53%. So when I multiply when I increase the current year appropriation, the fiscal 26 appropriation by 3.53%, I get 50,405,343, which is slightly higher than the number that you see on the screen. So I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I took a look at that. We just talked, Brian
We
and I
noticed
talked
the
about
error, Tom, it was on my slides, and after I had sent them to you, so I was trying to share my screen because I made the adjustment. It's off by $1,473, and I think it was just how Dan had his spreadsheet.
Okay.
So I borrowed his number instead of yours. I think his rounded down or something like that. So
okay, yeah, no worries. Yeah, we'll just go with the higher amount. That's fine.
Yeah, I apologize.
I mean,
that's okay.
We're talking $3 million. Am I not looking at this correctly?
Scott, which one are you looking at?
Well, on our agenda, the amount requested says 50,405,344.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's the town appropriation line. So you see ours says 50,403,871.
Okay.
The third row here.
Yep. That's what
we just highlighted, that some of the other funds we're using for like a total, but the town appropriation is that number, 50.4 million.
Okay, so are we going to use the number that's on the agenda or the number that's on your revenue sheet?
We'll use the number that's on the agenda, the higher number.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah. And again, just for clarity, the difference is 1,473, and that was my error. So I apologize for that.
No problem. I
don't think of 3 million.
Well, I was looking at it with the circuit breaker and school choice applied. So forgive my error on that. And Brian, I know typically in the past few years, sometimes you guys have done 2 nights. I mean, I think this is pretty thorough. Is this your final? We can vote on this tonight. We're good with that.
If you're able to vote tonight, Scott, that would be great. We're still finalizing the full budget book, which we'll share with the school committee, the select board, and the finance committee. We're scheduled to come back. I talked to Tom about basically a month from now, which we've typically done. We're still happy to do that. So maybe after you have the book, if you have more questions, we can come back before.
I'm prepared to vote on it tonight as long as my other members. I think all the information. I mean, I know there'll be more, but what we have here, I'm satisfied with what we have here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the total number that you're voting on won't change. So
that won't change.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question or point of clarification.
Sure.
Dan Gale just mentioned FY28 and FY29 and the override. And I just want to confirm with our town administrator that the numbers that Dan was citing will actually be the numbers available to the school department next year and the following fiscal year.
Correct.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, in a perfect world, yes. The answer would be yes, right? But there's so much variability in crafting a $100 million operating budget, and not so much around what the departments themselves need, but around pressures on the budget that the town has little to no control over. Pension assessment, health insurance increases, So, I've made it my goal, and the select board knows this, to try to preserve as much capacity in the 27 budget for 28 excess levy capacity. I think we'll get pretty close. I can say with some certainty that I think we'll be pretty close to getting to the target of three-quarters of $1 million in excess levy when we set the tax rate in December. If it's not that exact amount, it may be a little bit less. But that's, I understand that that's what the discussions, I've been part of the discussions all along. So I understand what the expectations are around preserving as much levy capacity as we can. So
yeah, and I didn't raise that as to find fault or anything. I just wanted to try to clarify whether Dan's expectation was really a true expectation or just a hope that may occur. So I think he said that for FY 28 he was looking for an extra 500,000, then an extra 250 in FY 29. Is that right, Dan?
Yes.
Yeah. And I know that this year, Tom, you've hit the mark exactly, I think, where the school department was hoping, anticipating, expecting you would hit this year. So,
yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that's right. And that's right. I'll just add too. I think we're going to be there. We were the override combined with the very high new growth number was a perfect confluence of events to help sustain the town and the school department. So the health insurance number is going to come down a little bit from what I had originally projected. If the legislature increases the Chapter 70 funding to the town, that will add to the levy capacity. So I think we'll be pretty close to what the target is, I think.
Okay.
I guess I have one more question. And
Sure.
Dan Gill, the question is to you, and that is, what is the minimum increase student enrollment figure that you're using? Is it $60 a student, 75, 150? What's the number?
Yeah, I think so. The governor's budget came out at $75 per pupil, and I think that's what Tom's like assuming right now.
Yeah.
And then last year it was the same number, and then the legislator bumped it up to $150 per pupil. So that's what Tom was just mentioning. If they do that again, that'll help us get to that number.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Diana, Judy, any questions?
No. Scott, can I just pipe in on the
Sure.
question about the future years? So I just wanted to make it clear that it's the expectation of the school committee that we abide by what we agreed to when we passed the override. When we changed the funding formulas on the override to have the excess levy progress over 4 years, it was very clear at the time that it was critical that our increase be 2.5% plus the override money, and we don't want our budget to go backwards. And I think it will happen. I think there's enough new growth out there that's been captured and new growth that will be captured in the future. But I just want to make it clear on behalf of the school committee that is our expectation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So the number is $50,405,344. By roll call vote, Diane,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
The chair votes yes, so that passes 4-0. All right, thank you guys. Thank you, Dan and Brian, Chris, and the school committee members. Appreciate all your hard work for our kids.
Thank you. Thanks for having us tonight, and I'll get the updated slides to you guys so you have the correct ones. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. All right, next citizens issues. We have none. Board topics. Judy.
Nothing at this time.
Diane.
Only to compliment the DPW for a great job through this blizzard or whatever it is called, and to thank them for keeping us safe, and same with Hudson Light and Power.
Thank you. Steve?
Nothing to add to that.
No, I would agree. And to all our first responders, because I know like Diane said, obviously DPW and the contractors, but also we include our police, fire, and everybody else in this, because that's difficult working conditions. So Thank you. And thank you for everybody doing this meeting remotely tonight. I'm glad I was checking with Tom all day. He was checking in with Justin Connell to make sure we didn't have a number of outages across the town so that we could do this. So it worked out great. And this weather's been crazy. So again, yeah, thank you to the Hudson Light and Power. We don't have any correspondence on the or an executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Yeah, second. Judy, come on.
Second.
Don't break your streak. All right. All those in favor, Diane,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. All right. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Good
Stay
night.
safe.